A very good morning to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice on a Sunday morning. Thank you for joining me. I've got to thank you all for those who have subscribed to the channel. I've got well over 6,300 subscribers. So my big thanks to you for becoming a subscriber. If you've yet to become a subscriber, please do so. Doesn't cost you anything. And as I've mentioned before, you can just, if you don't have a YouTube account, you can set one up using your email address. You don't have to place any content on the YouTube channel. Just set an account up and become a subscriber of this channel. It will help greatly. But thank you for those who have subscribed already. Now, for those of you who watched the show on Friday, you know I talked about Lucas Paqueta and the charges that have he's been charged, the spot fixing charges made by the FA. And this is a little bit of an update on that particular video. On Saturday, the Sun newspaper issued an interview that they held with footballer Kynan Isaac. Now, who is Kynan Isaac? If you recall, I mentioned him in the show on Friday. He was banned from football for 10 years when he played for Stratford United or Stratford City. He was banned for 10 years for spot fixing charges that he got convicted of in 2022. As always, trust the Scum newspaper to get in on the act and try to sensationalize the whole issue, which they've tried, they seem to have done. Well, it's not worth being in their newspaper if it's not sensationalized. Alas, the interview had a number of anomalies, of which I will talk about in a moment. But in the interview itself, Isaac said the following things. He said, it will be very interesting to see what they do with him, with Paqueta. There's no point in me sitting here and letting everyone else get away with it. As if he wants to effect some revenge on Paqueta because of what happened to him. And he went on to say, it's basic math. If I got done for 10 years for doing it once, one incident of spot fixing, by the same book, Paqueta should get 40 years for doing it 4 times. It doesn't quite work that way, but I kind of understand his approach. He went on to say, I can't wait to see what they give him. It will be something pathetic, like about a year or two, because he's got the money and he's got expensive lawyers. If that happens, they won't be able to ignore me and the ban that they gave me. So clearly, if he thinks that Paqueta is being treated lightly, he's going to try and contest in some way the ban that he got. The FA stopped him from playing, apparently, immediately after the charges were announced. And they also referred the case to the police. Isaac said, the police came to my house and told me there was a warrant out for my arrest. I had my kids with me, so I asked if I could hand myself in at a certain time. He said, I went there to the police station the next day, about midday, with my lawyer, and the police threw it out. I got a 10-year ban, even though the police threw out the case. It will be interesting to see if they do the same with Paqueta. Will he get the police turning up at his doorstep? If not, why not? Why should he be treated any differently to me? Also, even though I don't know the exact details of what the bets we're talking about, as in what bets Paqueta is being accused of, the values made are bound to be in the thousands. With me, it was pennies. Well, it doesn't really matter whether it's pennies or thousands. It's the incident itself. It's the fact that he was accused of and convicted of spot fixing. Whether someone earned £1 from it or £10,000 from it is really quite irrelevant. Isaac then was apparently, back last year, was apparently tempted to speak out when Brentford and England star Toney escaped with an 8-month ban a year ago after admitting 232 breaches of betting rules. He was also angered when Nottingham Forest's Harry Toffolo was given a suspended 5-month ban in September of 2023 for 375 breaches of betting rules as well. Toffolo at the time claimed he made the wagers when his mental health was at a very low ebb. Isaac said, it was mentally awful for me as well. And he went on to say about Toney, non-league footballers get a 10-year ban, and then you see a big-name star like Toney, who was putting thousands of pounds on bets, still being allowed to play when he had been charged and getting an England call up as well. He was banned. His ban really only lasted for 6 months because it included the off season, and he'll also be at the Euros this summer. He went on to say, the FA literally stopped me from playing any football, even seven-a-side or Sunday league. No one worried about my mental health after getting such a huge ban. I was depressed and it hit me, but nobody from the PFA or the FA got in touch to see how I was. Well, now let me get on to the anomalies, because what Isaac has done, or maybe through the help of the Sun, we don't know. I won't levy that accusation at the Sun. Maybe this was Isaac's thinking. There are anomalies between the charges against Isaac and those against Toney or Toffoli. An independent commission banned Toney for 8 months in May last year after admitting 232 counts of breaking the FA rules on betting. But Toney's offences took place over a 4-year period between 2017 and 2021. He also earned him a fine of £50,000. Now, 13 of these bets was Toney not included in the games that he bet on. So he couldn't affect the outcome of any of those games. The same thing applied to Toffoli. Whereas the bets that were made by Isaac were in games that he could have an effect on. And that's one of the main differences. Toney was making bets arbitrarily, but he wasn't spot fixing. He wasn't betting on spot fixing any of the games. So he couldn't be involved in actually affecting the outcome of the game. Whereas what Isaac was doing was actually affecting the game, spot fixing. Now, there are differences between what Isaac did and what Paqueta did as well, or alleged to have done as well. Both players have been charged with spot fixing. Yeah, that's the same. But as of right now, there was direct evidence implicating Isaac and those who were placing the bets themselves through WhatsApp messages that were found and so on. Now, at this stage, there is nothing to suggest that there is any evidence demonstrating that Paqueta had been in touch with anyone who had placed bets on the island of Paqueta in Brazil. The next stage, even if at this moment in time, there's no suggestion to say there were third parties involved who may have relayed messages from those who were betting to Paqueta and so on and so forth. At this stage, there's nothing to suggest any more than that. So the next stage is that Paqueta has got until the 3rd of June to respond to these charges, and we understand that he will plead not guilty to the charges. Then the next phase will then kick in, where an independent review committee comprising of 3 independent commissioners will be formed, and they will hear the case and decide the outcome. Naturally, the outcome of the IRC might find that supporting evidence to suggest that Paqueta had indeed been in communication with those who had placed bets. Like I said, it may not be direct communication between player and others, but even if the IRC find indirect communication through a third party, this could be provided as evidence in the findings and placed under consideration. If the IRC do find anything to link Paqueta to those who place bets, then no doubt he's likely to face the full force of the IRC outcome with a possible lengthy ban that, as I said on Friday, could lead to his career being in. It could be career ending. Now, in the case of Isaac, he claimed that he was immediately stopped from playing football from the moment the charges were made. I would suspect that Paqueta, his lawyers, and possibly even West Ham would contest this happening to their player, citing that he's innocent until proven guilty. That would mean that if Paqueta was found guilty of these charges, he would appeal against them, undoubtedly, and this appeal could take a considerable amount of time to be heard and concluded. With that, and if Paqueta, his lawyers, and West Ham continue to cite that he's innocent pending outcome of an appeal, then he may well be available for selection for the club whilst that appeal is being concluded. This might just mean that we will see Paqueta in a West Ham shirt again next season. but I don't know. It's suggested that the initial hearing, is probably going to happen around about August time. And then the findings and the outcome and the decision might be sort of might come out soon after that. But he will still be innocent until proven guilty. But even if he was found guilty, then if an appeal set in, that could take a lengthy amount of time. It's possible that we may have Paqueta for maybe, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months before it's all concluded. But I guess the one thing that we're going to have to take into account is his mental state of mind, whether that might affect his ability to continue performing at the highest level on the pitch. Now, many might suggest that this is why he kind of fell away in the second half of the season with this looming over his head. We did talk about that. When every time he had a bit of a bad game, it was suggested, could it be that it's because he's got this hanging over his head, that he's not performing to the standard, to the level that we expect? It could well be. As this was looming, maybe, he would have known, he would have heard from his lawyers, etc., that charges were going to be made. And once these charges once an outcome is applied, if he is found guilty, whether he makes an appeal or not, it's going to have an impact, isn't it? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So, Mr. Kynan Isaac, you've had your say in the Sun newspaper. You got caught, unfortunately, red-handed. There was evidence to suggest that what you did has been proven. So I don't understand why he might think that he's got that the FA have got a case to answer if Paqueta gets treated differently. Because at this moment in time, Paqueta is innocent. At this moment in time, there's no evidence to suggest that he was in communication with those who place bets. And until that's proven otherwise, he is free to continue training with West Ham, to continue with his international. Let's not forget, he got picked by Brazil. He got brought back in by the new Brazilian coach into the international setup. So there's nothing to suggest that anything is going to stop him from continuing to play football until the outcome of the IRC is found. And even then, as I've said, there'll be an appeal applied against that, and that could take quite a bit of time as well. I guess we haven't heard the last of this, but do join me for a further update. I wanted to do a welcome to Julian Lopetegui, and this is now the second time that I've not been able to do that, but I promised to put out a video very soon talking about Lopetegui and talking about all the transfer stories that are coming out. People seem to still keep forgetting that in the squad that Lopetegui is going to want, if he wants a full 25-man squad, he's got to find 8 homegrown players. At this moment in time, we may not have anywhere near that, but I'm going to do a video. I've been writing a script, so I will get that out very soon. So do look out for that. Thank you for listening to me, and I'll see you all very soon.